Ready? Good morning. This year is a leap year. That means there are 366 calendar days, one more than normal. That means there's likely to be one more successful suicide death in the military. That's right. The yearly average suicide rate is one death for every calendar day. Suicide is actually the second leading cause of death amongst soldiers, second to combat-related deaths. Figures suggest that for every one suicide, there are 5 hospitalized or treated for attempted suicide. If those attempts had been successful, combat deaths would certainly be a distant second as the leading causes of death. The military needs to change their approach. They need to reevaluate their tactics. They need to reinvest in the plans and positive results. They need to be reminded that it's the real issues, the deeper causes, and it's not the side effects that need the cure. It's the disease. And that is, depression and what is causing our troops to commit suicide. The government wastes too much money on addressing the symptoms of bigger problems. There are too many soldiers deployed for too often, for too long, for a fight in which most of them don't even know they don't even know the cause that they're fighting for. The military should be spending time and resources researching the reasons that our troops are so depressed and stop spinning their wheels trying to help them after the depression has already set into dangerous levels. Now, the military provides the troops with a vast amount of resources. There's Military One Source, there's the chaplain's office, there's mental health clinics, all kinds of stuff. The military has actually spent, since 2004, around $50 million in suicide prevention and research and treatment. But statistics show that it's not effective, that the suicide rate has only gone up every year. Now, sure, the Army says it's a sign of strength, for a soldier to go in and seek help. But despite the military's best efforts, troops have described their experiences getting this help as being embarrassing, and they hated it. And that's according to a report from retired Colonel Elspeth Cameron Ritchie. She's a former assistant for the Army Surgeon General. Though there are a variety of resources, like I said, suicides have only risen every year. So why does the government insist on reissuing a budget for something that has not shown any success at all? It hasn't brought the suicide rate down at all. I propose that those organizations and services are the solution to the wrong problems. They're addressing the symptoms and not the actual disease. Now, before my deployment, my wife and I were going through some very, very serious stress. And we called one of these mental health services, and we spoke to a very nice woman. She asked me some questions, and I told her about my problems, and I described at length my fears and my concerns, my anxieties, and my depression. And at the conclusion of my long story, she referred me to another person. She gave me a phone number of somebody else to talk to from a different organization she thought that might be more qualified to help me. So we called them and told them the same story. And they told me to call these other people. And so I called them, and I told them the same story. And they told me to call somebody else because nobody could seem to help me. So, if I wasn't really contemplating suicide before, after those phone calls, my frustration just kept going up and up and up. That I wanted to beat myself to death with my phone. So these solutions they have they're just ineffective. So I propose that it's a waste. These programs, are they the solution? Is $50 million being put to good use? And I say the statistics suggest no. And my personal experiences suggest no. And from what I've talked to my battle buddies and my coworkers, no, it's not. And it's my personal opinion that it's just a matter of checking the box, saying that they gave us the brief and that they gave us the help as more of an insurance policy, to say that they're not responsible because they offered the help. And that's unacceptable. I mean, you're going to invest the time and the money in getting the research, you might as well get the results. And the results is what's missing. So it's absolutely true that I've been deployed for way too long. And like I mentioned in the beginning, me and my coworkers who sit around and we talk about it, we don't even know why we're here. We don't know who we're fighting. We know where in the world we are. We know what we're capable of. We know what our mission is. We know the brief to give when the generals come by and ask us what we're doing here. But we don't know the big picture. We don't know why we are defending this place that we are in. We don't know the value of it. We don't know who we are defending in this country. And we don't know who we are defending them from. So, who's our enemy? And we don't know. So it seems like it's all political for us to be out here. Meanwhile, our families and our loved ones and our peace of mind is on the other side of the world, 8,000 miles away. And we're just sitting here going crazy trying to figure out what we're doing here. And that's got to stop. We need to bring this war to a conclusion. Now I'll present some statistics to you. It's not necessarily, deployment that is the reason for people's suicide among the military. Now I know the firsthand of military stress, but it's not just combat and deployment that is accountable for the suicide among our ranks. According to Army Secretary John McHugh, in 2010, 54% of troops who committed suicide and 59% of those who attempted suicide had never even been deployed. And 89% have never even been engaged in combat. So it's not combat stress, it's not deployment stress that is causing our military to want to end their lives. It's something about the lifestyle. It's something about the stress that goes along with being a soldier. And that is the problem. We need to find that problem. We don't need to treat the symptoms. We need to address the root. That's my proposal. That's where I think our funds, that $50 million, should be going to. But instead, the military wants to spend their time and resources to do research to help the troops well after the depression has already set in. And we've already seen, how that tree bears fruit. It doesn't. It's not working. The statistics have proven that all of these suicide prevention efforts, they have not slowed the suicide rate at all. The statistics have proven that combat and deployment are not the main cause of suicide. Statistics have validated that $50 million worth of research hasn't had any positive improvement on the toll that suicide has inflicted among our heroes. Now, I don't know how long the government wants to keep, fueling this fire. They want to keep dumping money into programs that over a span of 10 years had made no progress. And speaking as a soldier, being on the inside of it doesn't make sense, and it's very frustrating, and it's very scary. We need help. We all need help. Now, another proposed solution that the Army, the military is putting together is they're trying to push through Congress the legislation that it's not legislation. It's more of an encouragement. It's kind of a policy that when a soldier is verified as being suicidal, they need to relinquish their personal firearms so that they don't have their weapons close by. Statistics say that males tend to use a gun, and females tend to use pills or other, slitting wrists, things of that nature. Again, I think this is addressing the aftermath of a deeper cause. It's addressing the symptoms of a disease when we need to cure the disease. So, of course, we need to help those people that need help when they seek help. But I think we should first make the efforts to eliminate the common cause, the deeper root of these soldiers' depression. Me personally, my struggles were because I voluntarily served in the U.S. Army for 2 years. I've only known my son and seen my wife for 4 months of those 2 years. And again, that's just an individual basis. Now, for others, it's too many deployments. For others, it's too much combat. For others, it's loss of, a friend in battle. For others, it's divorce, whatever it may be. The military can't make everyone happy all the time, and that's an obvious statement. That's why, we as soldiers are taught about resilience and sacrifice. But at the very least, commanders at the lowest level should handle each soldier's case individually. They need to assess the severity of that soldier's situation. I mean, what good is a dead soldier to the mission? What good is a depressed soldier who can't focus on their job and they can't function effectively because solving their personal issues far beyond their ability? They don't know where to go for help. So, in conclusion, the answer just depends on the command's willingness to deal with those soldiers individually. You can't gamble with your soldiers' lives. So, in my personal story that I told earlier, I sought help and was passed around from person to person because no one knew what to do. They offered this help, but I don't think they really expected to actually need to help somebody. And that is a huge problem. It's a disingenuous solution to a genuine problem. So I conclude with this bold statement that there is no one solution that can blanket the entirety of the military suicide epidemic. Soldiers need to be helped on a case-by-case basis. And when a soldier's solution is a simple matter of doing some paperwork, perhaps, do the paperwork, get the printer warmed up. It seems to be too much of a burden, to be honest with you. And I think that would have been, that's something that can be said for my personal case. All that to be done was for my commander at the lowest level to sign some paperwork, and I'd have stayed home and been with my family for a little while longer before I had to deploy the first time. Instead, it was right away. I don't even know my son, and that is the cause for my huge amounts of depression. But again, that's just a case-by-case basis. Like I said, suicide is the number 2 killer in the military, but it's the number 1 threat. Now, the military, this should be a way of life, not a way out of life. My name is Daniel Woodruff, and thank you for your time.